Part 2, Game 10, Petrov Defense, St. Petersburg, 1914. White, J.R. Capablanca, Black, F.J. Marshall. E4, E5, Knight F3, Knight F6, Knight takes E5, D6, Knight F3, Knight takes E4, Queen E2, Queen E7, D3, Knight F6, Bishop G5. Played by Morphy and a very fine move. The point is that should Black exchange queens, he will be a move behind in development and consequently will get a cramped game if White plays accurately. Bishop E6. Marshall thought at the time that this was the best move and consequently played it in preference to Queen takes E2 check, Knight C3, H6, Bishop takes F6, Queen takes F6, D4, Bishop E7, Queen B5 check, Knight D7, Bishop D3. Great move. It is now time to examine the results of the opening. On White's side, we find the minor pieces well posted and the queen out in a somewhat odd place. It is true, but safe from attack and actually attacking a pawn. White is also ready to castle. White's position is evidently free from danger and his pieces can easily maneuver. On Black's side, the first thing we notice is that he has retained both his bishops, unquestionably an advantage. But on the other hand, we find his pieces bunched together too much, and the queen in danger of being attacked without having any good square to go to. The bishop at e7 has no freedom, and it blocks the queen, which, in its turn, blocks the bishop. Besides, Black cannot castle on the king's side because queen takes b7, rook a b8, queen e4, threatening mate, wins a pawn. Nor can he castle on the queen's side because of queen a5 would put Black's game in imminent danger since he cannot play a6 because of bishop takes a6. Nor can he play king b8 because of knight b5. Consequently, we must conclude that the opening is all in White's favor. G5. To make room for his queen, threatening also G5 to G4. H3, castles. Giving up a pawn in an attempt to free his game and take the initiative. It was difficult for him to find a move, as White threatened knight e4, and should Black go with the queen to G7, then D5, bishop F5, knight takes D6 check, followed by bishop takes F5. So, queen takes B7, rook A B8, queen E4, queen G7, B3, C5. In order to break up White's center and bring his knight to C5, and thus lay the foundation for a violent attack against White's king. The plan, however, fails, as it always must in such cases, because Black's development is backward, and consequently his pieces are not properly placed. Castles. C takes D4, knight D5. Great move. A simple move which destroys Black's plan utterly. Black will now have no concerted action of his pieces, and, as his pawns are all weak, he will sooner or later lose them. Bishop D8, bishop C4, knight C5, queen takes D4, queen takes D4. The fact that he has to exchange queens when he is a pawn behind shows that Black's game is lost. Knight takes d4. Bishop takes d5. Bishop takes d5. Bishop f6. Rook a d1. Bishop takes d4. The knight was too threatening. But now the ending brought about is one in which the bishop is stronger than the knight, which makes black's plight a desperate one. The game has no further interest, and it is only because of its value as a study of this variation of the Petrov that I have given it. Black was able to fight it out until the 16th move on account of some poor play on white's part. The rest of the moves are given merely as a matter of form. Rook takes d4, king g7, bishop c4, rook b6, rook e1, king f6, f4, knight e6, f takes g5 check, h takes g5, rook f1 check, king e7, rook g4, rook g8, rook f5, rook c6, h4, rook gc8, h takes g5, rook c5, bishop takes e6, f takes e6, rook takes c5, rook takes c5, g6, king f8, rook c4, rook a5, a4, king g7, rook c6, rook d5, rook c7 check, king takes g6, rook takes a7, rook d1 check, king h2, d5, a5, rook c1, rook c7, rook a1, b4, rook a4, c3, d4, rook c6, d takes c3, rook takes c3, rook takes b4, rook a3, rook b7, a6, rook a7, rook a5, king f6, g4, king e7, king g3, king d6, king f4, king c7, king e5, king d7, g5, king e7, g6, king f8, king takes e6, king e8, g7, rook takes g7, a7, rook g6 check, king f5, resigns.